This is my DR650 upside down fork conversion. You can see here I've got forks from a 2017 YZ450. They came off my motocross bike that I swapped them out with some flat track forks, so I've got a spare set. Here I've also got the 450 21-inch front wheel with an oversized 320mm rotor, and the adapter here on the stock DR650 caliper. So the adapter here is for a YZ450F oversize, and the caliper itself has the same distance between the two holes that will actually fit to the pretty standard on the Nissan calipers. I have loosely wired in here the what's it called? The Trail Tech Endurance Speedo. So because obviously when I swap the front end, I will lose the stock speedo, so that will follow the brake line up here. This is all just loosely fitted at the moment. And here I have a set of YZ450F triple clamps. Now these are from an 09. Now I do have to take this apart because the 09 triple clamps do not fit the 17 forks. The top triple clamp here, you can probably see, yeah, roughly, there's a bit of a gap here. So the top diameter of the 17 forks are 54mm, but on the 09 triple clamps, these are actually 56mm, so these are too big. So I've got a set of 17 triple clamps coming in. And what I did is actually I pressed out the stem on the DR650 and I pressed it into the YZF stem. So they both have a 30mm diameter on the bottom there. To mount the dash bits, like the light and the USB, I do have a CNC cut dash panel here that I use on the stock DR650 triple clamps, and I just sort of like ground it off and made it fit because it just fits underneath where the handlebar clamps go into. And here I have also got, and I'll show you more when I pull it apart, is I just got some generic clamps that clamp onto the forks here to allow me to reuse the stock headlight. So when I pull it apart, I'll show you what it looks like. But otherwise, I've used the stock front fender with the brace. I just had to slightly file this out because they're the right width this way. I just needed to make them a bit longer. And yeah, that's that. So you can see the holes up there. So I'll pull this apart. It's just all loosely done. I'm going to reuse these blinkers and mount them up there. And yeah, I am waiting on my 17 triple clamp so I can press out the stem again and then put it all back together. Okay, now that I've got the cover off, this is I'm going to show it from the other side. This is the generic sort of clamp here. It had a pre-existing hole here, which I used this bolt here, which holds on the stock assembly. You can see I've ground off the stock bracket here. And then also on the inside, when I take this off, I'll show you again, I actually put a nutsert. So now it's got 2 points here that allow it to hold on to this stock. So this stock bracket here. So then I retain these bolts, so then I can mount the actual, the front plastic cowl here. One other thing to call out is in the middle here, I did tap this thread here to be an M8, so I could mount the ignition to, just at least using one bolt. This is just flopping around at the moment because I wanted to reuse this stock ignition, didn't want to have to cut in a new one. Obviously you do lose the ability to use the steering lock, but that's life. Okay, now that I've taken the headlight off, this is my JNS headlight. And you can see here, this is the bracket that holds on the stock assembly here. This is the stock mounting bolt, which I am using to mount through this hole of the bracket. And this pre-existing slit here, this is where I put this nutsert on either side. So it has 2 mounting points. So I didn't want to put a tower on. The towers were like $1,000. So, and I already spent the money on this headlight, so and it works pretty well. So I wanted to use this. Now that I've nearly got most of the front end out, I'll just call out that when I did have it all together with these 09 forks, with these 09 triple clamps in, I did measure the steering head angle and it was about 30.5 degrees, which is a bit chopper-like. I think standard they're about 28. And I was hoping that it would be a bit lower. Now when I did measure actually that steering head angle, the forks were about halfway to the handlebars. So when I swap over to the 17 triple clamps, or the right size ones, I will push the forks all the way through. I'll measure the sag, and hopefully, it's probably below 30 degrees. If I ride it and it does feel a bit high in the front end, I will probably internally lower them to get the steering head angle back to around 28 degrees. Now, this is probably not as dramatic as it would be if you had a stock rear end. So now on the rear end, I do have the tractive shock, and I do also have an 18-inch rear wheel. So we know that this is going to lift the back end to give it a steeper steering head angle. So without that, this steering head angle with these forks, with these longer forks, would have been probably 31, 32 degrees. So that's one thing to take into consideration when doing this as well.
Okay, here she is, the DR in all her glory, fully put together with the 2017 YZF front end. I've been riding it for the last week. I made a few adjustments, so I'll just run through the final sort of build and what was done. So up the front end here, I've got the dash here, which I have recalculated to include how many kilometers were on the bike initially, so it's just a rolling continuation, not starting from scratch. You program in this to your rolling diameter of the front wheel, so you get the right speedo, and I'm over by 3 kilometers, which I'm happy with. Here we have the dash, I have 2 USB chargers, and we have the stock ignition here with the switch. Here, these are the these are the sort of bar risers I had on the stock DR because I have the adapters here to go with the fat bars. With these 2017 YZF triple clamps, you can see here you got 2 positions. You can either have the handlebars back or forward. I have them in the more forward position to get me up the front, and they do have rubber cones on both sides, which is pretty good for the DR because there's a lot of vibration in it, and it absorbs that. Up here, so we have the brake line that's routed down into this clamp here on the triple clamp, down behind the back onto my oversized rotor, which is this adapter, which is from AliExpress. I did have to drill out this this section here for the what do we call it, the slide, so it could sort of move in and out smoothly. Yeah, so far seems really good. This is the magnet receiver. One of these bolts here has a magnet, it's probably behind here, which goes up to the speedo, which I routed up along here, and then it curls around and then goes into this wiring here on the Trail Tech. I do have the Trail Tech here on the left because I do run a Samsung tablet when I am navigating off-road, which is on this RAM mount here, so that would be in this location. I didn't have anything for the bottom, so what I did here is I got a little L bracket. I put a nut here, and there's a bolt through this brace, which is the B&B brace. So I do have my bag down there, which has my spare tubes for when I do adventure riding. So because I did notice that when I was riding with just these bolts here, with the wind on this, it was actually rotating back. So yeah, you definitely need this in there. The forks themselves, I have the rebound all the way out, and I have the compression about 2 clicks in. So I have 21 clicks on these forks for the YZF. So the stock damping does feel really good. It was also the first time I did put in this the tractive shock. It was fairly harsh to begin with. I think once you start riding it and the oil starts moving and it starts heating up a bit, it sort of beds in. I'm all wound out on the compression, and I'm about 3 clicks in on the rebound. So far it seems okay for the road. There's no dramatic diving when I'm on the brakes. We can see here, this is how far up I have the forks through, and the steering head angle did get to 29 degrees, which is 28 degrees of stock. Look, I'm not Toby Price, I can't really tell that much, but we'll see. If I want to lower it a bit, I'll do that. And I'm not using anywhere near the full suspension travel right now. So under really hard braking, I'm probably getting maybe just over halfway. Which means that I've got a lot of leeway for when I do start doing a bit more off-road and you hit some big bumps. So yeah, overall, this is the ultimate DR, I think, for now. And yeah, maybe I'll do a quick video of what the suspension looks like when you compress it. Now looking at that video I just took, the rear end does seem a little bit faster than the front end, and so I will probably eventually go a little bit more, a little few more clicks in, but you know, I have all the adjustment in the world with this tractive, so I'll see how it goes when I ride. But yeah, overall, this is my DR build, so it's definitely possible, can do the front end. One thing I will also mention is that I did tap in here, I'm not sure if you can see, into the steering lock, and I did thread some bolts in here, but actually I didn't have enough steering lock. So really, if you do it, I put some washers in to restrict, but without that in, like it just touches the tank. And I nearly got caught out with my stoppers in, with the bolts there, because I went to do a U-turn, I didn't have enough steering lock. But yeah, that's all.